Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vickie Poole. I'm a life coach, health coach, and a hypnotist at the Enlightened Peach. And this podcast is all about embracing our mosaic life. Some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life? Well, it's recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. And I am your host, and I have a special guest with me today. I'll introduce you in just a moment. But if you have any ahas or questions, please leave a comment or a voice message. And remember to like, subscribe, and share. So now let's get started. And this beautiful lady right here is Brianne Moore. And she's actually been on the podcast once before, but I will be honest, she was so intriguing and her story is so fascinating. And when I put it on my YouTube channel, I will say she's the one that's gotten the most views and likes and everything because it's such an interesting story. She there we go with the unediting part, right?
Yeah.
But I will let you tell just a little bit of your story, if you don't mind, just a recap for everybody. And then we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into the subject we talked about last time. So floor's
Well,
yours.
thank you for having me. I am I guess at this point, I'm kind of shifted into an intimacy coach and fertility coach. But I have DID, PTSD, and from severe childhood trauma and a lot of generational trauma that I have worked with through the years. And so the majority of my story comes from that and having to deal with it over the last few years and working through it. But I do love working in the feminine energy fields. And that's where my passion is. But I also like talking about my situation because I think that it really helps people, especially women who have went through the kind of trauma that I have went through.
Yeah. And, the sad thing is that you hear more and more about it all the time. Maybe they don't have the multiple personalities like you do, but they have a lot of trauma. And especially with all this stuff that's coming out now about human trafficking and then I had one guest on my podcast. She was familiar trafficked. So it was a family member that was trafficking her. And so that's not the same thing, but it kind of in the same way is what you went
Yeah.
through, right?
Yes. Oh,
Would it be
absolutely.
considered the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, my family was the one that trafficked me. If you go about it that way, my
Yeah.
grandpa definitely was the one, and my aunt were the ones that gave me to other people or passed me to other people. So yeah, it's the same type of thing. That actually, I believe, is the biggest misconception about trafficking. Is most people think, oh, you have to be kidnapped and taken and whatever. But actually, a lot of the times, it's your own family that
Yeah.
actually does that to you. And a lot of times it's obviously in religious organizations that happens a lot because they have a hierarchy that they go through. So for me, that was how it happened. And I think that happens a lot more than we actually think. And it doesn't have to necessarily be your parents, because it wasn't my parents, but it can be, a close friend or anyone that you feel really comfortable with who can use that power of being over you. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, it was a power of not only being over me, but also, the patriarchy, but the religious aspect, and really learning. They know how to like shame you and make you feel bad, so you never say anything. And it's interesting because the last time we talked, I thought for sure I was going to get a lot of messages from family, and I haven't gotten really any messages from very few people in my family. Most won't acknowledge it, but my dad's family, who's not the family it happened in, I got a lot of from them. They're saying, how did we not know? How did we not know?
Oh,
And
wow.
that's just
Yeah.
how it
How did
is.
it feel for them to reach out and say that?
You know what? I always feel bad for some reason and want to be like, it's not your fault. You didn't know. It's not your fault. But at the same time, like, I mean, I was really good at covering it up, obviously, and really good at holding everything in. In fact, the message that you sent me that someone had put on the YouTube channel
Mm-hmm.
was actually a cousin who was my best friend when we were growing up until about, I don't know, maybe like 16ish. We kind of drifted apart, and we were inseparable. And she messaged me and she was like, "How did I not know this?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like I inside I felt like everyone knew that I was bad, that I was a horrible person that was doing these horrible things. But obviously, I guess no one knew. And I carried it all as like it was me being the bad person, you know? And so we actually ended up talking for the first time in 25 years
Oh, how
because of the
cool.
YouTube channel. Yeah. So that was pretty awesome.
Yay.
Yeah, because we hadn't talked in so long, and she reached out and I was like, okay, we need to talk. And so that was great. I mean, there's some good things that come with sharing your story, even though it's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you, I don't remember what I said last time, because I disassociated the majority of the time. So if you saw who I was, then you would know like that was a multiple, but you just can't tell really the difference. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very
Well, you
similar.
did message me later. I think after I had sent you the links and everything, that you were kind of uncomfortable about sharing this out.
Yes.
And
It
I
took
said,
me a
well,
few weeks
yeah,
to get comfortable and
yeah, I
not
bet,
feel like,
especially since you don't remember what was said, you know.
well, for sure. There was a point where I was like, what did I say? What did I do? My husband watched it to check because I couldn't watch it because it gave me anxiety. So he watched it. He was like, "You're fine." I'm like, "Okay, okay."
Yeah. At one point, and I don't remember what it was you were talking about, but you said, I don't think I've told anybody else this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was when your grandmother grabbed your hand and did something or whatever it was, but I'd have to go back and watch again to see. But afterwards, you told me that you hadn't really said that to anybody, or maybe you
Yeah.
said it in the actual recording. I can't remember, but I thought that was kind of interesting. But you know, I just alluded to the lady that I did the podcast recording with that said she was familiar trafficked, or trafficked familiar, however you say it. And interestingly enough, it was her mother. It wasn't, she didn't do it so much as that she allowed it to happen with this boyfriend because the boyfriend was paying the bills.
Hmm.
And so I can kind of see sometimes, you know, that could be part of it, is people learned how to control someone because they've got the purse strings, you know.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, my aunt, she would take me to a jewelry store, and I don't know if I told the story already. She would take me to a jewelry store so she could get jewelry, and I would have to take care of the person so she could get jewelry. But then I got a ring afterwards, so it was like, oh, well, you get something, you know. And there was that for sure. It's
Yeah.
the money definitely, but not from my parents. I mean, my parents didn't get anything or anything like that. It was my grandpa, you know. He was was a Mormon businessman, I could say, and that was kind of how he was. I think that has a lot to do with how our family was raised in the church, and how generation after generation of trauma. And I was talking to my sister yesterday, and we were just like, how did this keep happening? To me, it always comes down to the women in my family, because all the women, it's like no empathy or no caring because it happened to them. It's like, well, it happened to so and so, so you'll be okay. Instead of saying, well, it happened to so and so, so maybe don't let me go with that person. Like, don't let your kids be around that person because
Right.
so and so is not a good person. So that's just not the way it worked. It was more like, oh, well, you know, it
Yeah.
happened to so and so, so you'll be okay. You'll be okay afterwards. It's a
Well, you know,
very,
there are a lot of studies and all done that people that are abusers or sexual abusers or physical abusers they were abused when they were young. And so it's just something that I don't understand it, if it's that suddenly because they've experienced that, that's just a normal part of life and they don't see that it's, something wrong with it. Or if they do see that, they're just not willing to breach protocol or to call somebody out, or it's easier to just keep silent.
Yeah, or cause family drama,
Yeah.
cause any drama. Like my family was all about trying to look like there
The
wasn't
perfect
any drama.
family,
Yeah.
right?
So that doesn't help, if you're causing any kind of drama. And so yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that a lot of people they just stay quiet because they don't know what to say. I don't know. Like even now when my family is kind of, some are talking to me, some are not talking to me, and I can tell like some don't know what to say, even though they don't really need to say anything, I guess. But most
Right.
of them are just like, what do I say? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't know. But it's hard for me because I really feel like the majority of my mom's family probably knew. They just don't want to admit it.
Yeah. So
It's like
basically they're
conscious.
saying, I'm sorry, I didn't do anything.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Would that
Yeah,
make you feel better if they said that instead of, I didn't know?
probably.
Yeah.
Honestly, the one thing with my mom is that like I would like her to say, I'm sorry, I didn't do anything, instead of saying I didn't know, because her thing is always that she didn't know. And to me, there's no way that she didn't know. So it would be better if she just said, I'm sorry, I didn't do anything. I'm sorry, I didn't protect you. I'm sorry
Yeah.
that I failed that part of whatever. And then we could probably move forward. But the whole like, well, I didn't know just makes it so that she doesn't hold any accountability, and so that's always hard for me.
Yeah. And you wonder, if you didn't know, then there has to be, in the quiet of the night or sometime when you're not putting up your pretenses as a little kid, that she would have to know something was up, you know?
Oh, there were lots of signs.
Yeah.
I mean, I started my period at 8 years old. I went to the doctor at that time. They did an exam, so that they knew. Um, I mean, there's so many times. I mean,
I'm
I did.
imagine it was like a church doctor, right? So he wouldn't say anything anyway. Was it not?
Well,
How did,
he was a family friend, yeah,
okay.
but not on the side of the church. So I don't know. It's so
Well,
weird. Like,
he could have been, I'm just saying, somebody that's part of the church
yeah,
that was the doctor. And then
yeah.
because he would be more apt to keep the secrets.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went to the bishop many times in the Mormon church, and you have to do an interview. And if he was really called by God and like had all the discernment and all the things that you're supposed to have, being, then he would know that I was lying to all the questions that he was asking. Because Mormon, they ask you when you're a little kid if you've had sex. Like a question that an adult male should never ask a girl by herself in a room by themselves at 12 years old. But
Right.
they ask you, have you ever had sex? And I would have to say no, but if they were really, they should be able to discern, like, I mean, I'm freaking out inside. I feel like I'm gonna like, have a heart attack, and God is definitely going to like destroy me for lying to the bishop. So he should have known, like he should have seen it. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. And I did say other things to the bishops that were never brought up, because where I lived, and this is another interesting thing, is since I've been speaking out, a lot of women from what they call a ward, which is a whole
Mm-hmm.
group that comes in an area, have come forward and told me, oh my gosh, do you know all the people that were doing things that they weren't supposed to be doing, and all the young kids that were having like sex and everything? And I'm like, yeah, it was very, I mean, for a religion that you're not supposed to have sex until you're married, everybody's having sex. Like, it's just so weird, because there's this whole back thing about abuse that's hidden, and then all these kids are abused, and then they all have sex with each other, and it's just this whole cycle that makes you feel horrible. And then they tell you every Sunday how you're going to hell if you have sex before you're married, and so you're just like spinning and feel like you're never gonna be in the right
Yeah.
place. Yes.
And at some point you might even be thinking, well, I'm already going to hell.
Oh,
So
for
just go
sure.
ahead and have fun.
For sure. But at a certain point, I was addicted to sex, you know, at a very young age because of just having sex and then being like overly stimulated as a child. And then with the DID and everything, it's actually having an orgasm, even to this day, helps bring me into my body because I disassociate, helps me bring me into my body. And it helps like regulate me. Like I get a regulation and a dopamine hit that I am very addicted to even today. Like I'm not as bad today, like because I've done a lot of work on it.
Right.
But forever, I mean, I had severe like, and most women won't, I mean, most people won't talk about this, but it's always a man's problem. It's always like, oh, men are addicted to porn and whatever. I had a huge porn issue when I was first married because I needed it all the time. Like I
Right.
needed to have like all the time. I needed to have an orgasm all the time in order to even just cope. So, I mean, I had a huge problem with it when I was in my 20s. Really bad, caused a lot of problems with me and my husband for a lot of years because I just was constantly over aroused, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
it's but I didn't see it. Like I never saw it
You just
until
thought it was a
till
healthy sex.
well, I knew it was like over the top, but I didn't think like I didn't see what it was like like that it was because of what I had went through as a
Ah, I
child, and that
gotcha.
it was because of being like in PTSD the majority of the time, and that it regulates me and it helps, you know, all those. I didn't realize any of that until I got into energy work and started doing all my healing. That oh, okay, this is giving me a dopamine hit. This is giving me, you know, this is regulating my body and all of these things, which is good, but at the same time you can't do it all the time, and you can't be overstimulated 24/7 because then I'm never in my body. Like it's so hard to find a balance of
Mm-hmm.
staying in it and then like but not having to be like aroused all the time. It's a really weird like balance game of stay present but don't get excited. No, no,
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, is it in some ways, and this may not be you, it may be people that you know about, I don't know, but is it some ways that maybe after a while it gets to be that's where the only close place you get is during the sex act. And so you start craving that because it's what makes you feel like somebody cares?
No, because at that time, like all of those things, it's really by myself. It's just
Okay.
to
And you
nobody
did have
cares.
like some very physically abusive sexual encounters, if I'm remembering right in the beginning. So
Yeah,
forget I
yeah.
said that.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. Personally, like, I mean, me and my husband have a very good relationship that way, a very strong connection, but we do a lot of energy work together and stuff. Now we didn't for years, but we've been together for 25 years. So, but if, for that time, like when I was like totally addicted and totally all that, it was just me personally. Like I couldn't even be around anyone or have anyone touch me. I'm not a hugger.
Okay.
Like I just it right away when someone hugs me, I disassociate. Like so having someone touch me is not gonna happen. But touching myself is like a freedom, I guess,
I
or
got you.
something that it
Yeah.
helps soothe me. Maybe I wasn't very soothed probably as a child, to be honest. My mom
Yeah.
was probably just whatever. And so like it's just a calming, soothing, relaxing thing that would help me. Even at I mean, the youngest I can remember, like it starting to be a thing was, I don't know, 8 maybe. And it was just all the time. So it was just something that obviously like soothed me and helped me feel better. But I had no idea what, like, why, I guess, until I
Mm-hmm.
was later.
Okay. Well, I know when we had talked before, you were talking about how one of the things that you help women with is that if they're infertile, because a lot of that comes from wound trauma, like what you
Mhm.
had. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit more, because we didn't touch on it very much, and I know that's part of what you do, and it's fascinating to think that that could be what's holding some women back from getting pregnant.
Yeah. So a lot of times if you've had any trauma, but not even trauma, like you started your period and it wasn't a good experience, like, your mom and your dad and whoever didn't support you or something happened, you hold all those memories usually in that area in the womb. And so we need to clear all of the energies out and go through all of the things that happened. So I always do, like, well, what was your first experience like? Your first sexual experience? What was your first time having a period like? Because all those things need to be revisited, because it's not just about whether or not your womb is healthy physically, but it's also mentally. Like, is your womb healthy mentally? Does it want to? So there was years where obviously I didn't want to get pregnant because I was young and I knew that I could get pregnant, but I didn't want to. So I spent a lot of years going, well, I don't want to get pregnant. I don't want to get pregnant. I don't want to get pregnant. And then got married and was like, well, now I can't get pregnant. So how come? But I had spent all those years saying I don't want to, you know what I mean? So I had to like clear all of that out. And most of the time, us women, we do it a lot, especially around our periods. Like, we hate having our period. It's such like, I don't want to have it. And all of those things tell your body that, well, I don't want to have children, basically. And so we have to go back and reprogram everything. And it's the best work, I think, because there's nothing better than having someone like tell you, oh, I got pregnant. And you're like, yes, and I don't know. It's beautiful to think that you can go through and clean something that you might think that is like had so much trauma that it's not possible. And that's what I thought for like a lot of years, like, oh, it's just not possible. And then I changed because I started doing all the work in healing and going, okay, well, it is possible. And I am worthy, because a lot of it has to do with worth. A lot of what us women hold in our womb is our worth. And so you really have to come back to feeling like you deserve to be a parent and you deserve to have children, which for some reason for most women is a hard thing. I don't know why. Like, we feel like we don't deserve that. And even when we have kids, and half the time we feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not a good mom. So like, it's a cycle.
We can beat ourselves up.
Oh my
lot,
gosh,
can't
for
we?
sure. But we hold it, Now, if you beat yourself up and you let it go, like, okay, I was a really crappy mom today and I'm just gonna like beat myself up about it, but then tomorrow is a new day, like I'm gonna like whatever, then that's fine. But if you hold it in constantly forever, like, I don't deserve to this, or I'm not worthy of this, then your body just goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need it. You don't have to be it. And we convince ourselves too that we don't. So I like telling women, like, the other day I was at the park and this mom was there, and her kids were older than my kids, because I have a 11 and a 3 and a 2-year-old. And she's like, oh, I think about having another one, but I'm too old. And I'm like, you are not too old. And she's like, oh, I'm too old. I'm 32. I'm like, I didn't even have my first one until I was 33. And I have these 2 babies and I'm 44. She's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, you can have them. It's just whether or not you want to. Like, if you're not too old, you are not, we're told that we're too old. But actually, a lot of times, I think when the older you get, the better. Like, I'm more capable now. I don't know that I could handle the little two-year-old, the 2 of them, when I was in my 20s and I was full on disassociated the whole entire time and I had no idea who I was or what my life was. Would have been a lot harder. So I think for some women, it does come later. And we have this whole idea about how at a certain age you're too old. And I love telling people, well, you're not too old. If you want them. If you don't want them, then that's totally fine.
Yeah, that's a totally different story.
But if you want to have one and you're in your 40s, go for it, do
Which
it.
is a good thing, because a lot of women, brilliantly enough, are waiting till they're older to get married and to start a family. They're not doing it. Like, I got married on my 18th birthday. Was it 18? Night. Hell, I don't know. Was I 18 or 19? You don't know. Hell, I don't,
Yeah.
evidently. I think it was my 19th birthday. Who knows? But anyway, I waited 5 years before I had a child. And, and I'll share we have some, at that age, we have some of the strangest ideas of things, right? So
Mhm.
I decided that I was not going to have a baby right away, because if I waited 5 years, then my marriage was solid and I was not going to get a divorce. And then it would be okay to have a baby.
Mhm.
I got divorced while I was pregnant,
Yep.
So it's
You
like
never know.
something about this does not compute.
Eh,
So at a young age, we have a weird way of looking at things, and what
mhm.
and how things are going to transpire. And so it's amazing, when we're young and things happen to us. And as we're getting older, not only is it better as far as being able to be a parent when you're older, but you've also worked through so much of your stuff that you can be a better parent because you're in a better place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if I told this last time or not, but like one of the worst parent things that I ever did was with my first, and my grandpa was still alive. And I had such cognitive dissonance of like not paying attention, like just not thinking about what he did to me, that I put my son and I allowed him to hold my son before he died. And to this day, I feel like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe. But if he was alive right now with my youngest two, there is no way, you know what I mean? Because I went through it all. I dealt with it all. There's no going back. But with my oldest son, I just started going through it. And so I just didn't really like
It
think
was
about
still
what I
under the
was doing.
rug a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. And that's why I sometimes have to go to my family and go, okay, well, I understand because I did that. Look what I let my son sit on his lap, and that like to this day is still like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
But on the
And
other hand, did you leave the room and do all that stuff like your grandmother did?
no,
See,
no,
you didn't
yeah,
do anything wrong.
no. Oh no, I mean, I was right there, but I didn't even think about it. Like I just was like, oh yeah, he's coming over to visit, and he's your grand, great grandson. So of course you want to meet him. I just didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
So that's it's to me, I still that's how I guess I have compassion for like some people where they're just like, well, like my mom, I'm just like, well, okay, I can see because she has the same thing that I have. I honestly think that she has what I have, and she just doesn't want to like go through and try to figure it out. She's never been diagnosed, but she, just is okay with not knowing. She's okay
Yeah.
with not remembering.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So when you think about that, what does that bring up for you? Anything that she just chooses to not remember?
you know it's hard. It's hard. Like we just don't have a relationship at the moment because of it. It's just not something that it triggers too many things still.
I
That
would
I'm just not
imagine.
there fully. I'm not, I mean, I want to forgive because that's what I'm supposed to do, but I'm just not 100% there yet. So we have a very like superficial, we text kind of, relationship where we were very, very close for a lot of years. And so I knew when we moved to Oklahoma that we had to, because we lived in the same city as her in Utah, that I needed to get away so that I could finish like this healing and go through everything by myself. And then when a lot of stuff happened here and it just got so crazy, it was like, okay, I can't have a relationship with her like that right now. Like it's just not possible. And it's okay. I mean, eventually I don't know, maybe she says she doesn't want to know what happened to her as a child, and she'll just find out when she dies. So that's her thing. And we might
Well,
never be as close as we were. And that's
yeah.
okay.
Well, we
Because I
have to
have to
make our own choices, right?
yeah, I have to set a boundary of,
Yeah.
like I have to feel uncomfortable and I have to be able to stay. So now because I'm really, really trying to stay 100% like in my body, which is so hard, when I talk to people that trigger me, I just can't talk to them because it's just too much,
Yeah.
like I have. be able to not get that triggered. So
I can
then there's
understand
very
that.
few people that do that to me, because the majority of the people that hurt me are dead. And the other few that aren't, I don't associate with. So it's okay. But, I know that if my family came around and started saying stuff, then I just wouldn't talk to them,
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah.
I don't really care that much, actually. I'm like, well, we didn't have that good of a relationship anyway. So it's okay.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer, just because somebody is born into your same little tribe doesn't
Mhm.
mean they deserve your attention.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not going to follow the boundaries that you set, or if they're not going to acknowledge stuff that they've done, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like that now. But see, I wouldn't have been like that when I was younger. I would have just pretended like everything was perfect. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until just recently that I realized that pretending that everything perfect was literally destroying me, so I just said, "Oh no, never mind. Like everything is hell." I'm just gonna say it all now. And I let it all out, and I don't care now. I'm like, "Oh well, you don't like it, it's okay. I don't care," because holding it in and pretending everything was perfect, I wasn't gonna last much longer. Like I
Yeah.
just couldn't do it.
Well, I think one of the things that you said last time was you said you didn't know, and I wish I could remember exactly what you said. I should have went and rewatched it real quick before we got on here.
I probably should have watched it, but it's okay.
But you said something about how let's see if I can remember how you put it. Um Damn. It was something about um how you couldn't understand why you were the one that had to have this experience to where you felt like you wanted to speak out because it was so uncomfortable to speak out. Um, and I told you that it was because you were going to be God knew you were going to be the strong one, and that you would speak out and break that generational curse that's been following your family for generations, and that it was going to be you that would break that cycle.
Yeah.
Does
And I
that
do
sound
think that,
right?
yeah, yeah. And I do believe that. I believe that like that one of us had to do it, and I do also believe very strongly that if one of us heals a generation, that it goes seven back and seven forward. So I'll do it for everyone. I don't care. Like they don't have to do anything. They could just say I'm crazy and that I'm making it all up and whatever. And as long as their grandchildren don't have to go through what I went through, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the way that I've tried to look at it as much as possible, like going through it now, because it's important to heal what our family has done. Like it's just so crazy and not good that it needs to come out. Like it needs to, I mean, it doesn't need to be like aired everywhere, probably, according to my family, but like why go small? I don't know. Like
Yeah,
why
just
not,
go for it.
you know?
Yeah,
But it needs to come out because people need to know that this kind of stuff happens and that it can happen to someone that seems very normal. Like I seemed like a normal kid with a normal life. And most of my friends will say that, like that I grew up with. They'll be like, I had no idea. Like you seemed, like nothing was whatever. I obviously was very good at it. Like I'm very good at lying, I guess, is
well,
what
you
it
would
is.
have to have been, because they probably told you, like a lot of perpetrators do, that your life or somebody else's life was in danger and that you don't tell your stuff, kind of thing,
Mhm.
right?
Oh yeah, yeah. All of that, but mostly religious stuff because
Okay.
that's where you get that is that, God, you wanted this, and so God is going to be mad at you. You better do what you're supposed to do. I'm in charge, all of that. And just the fact that it's someone that that you love, and that you love, I guess, that you listen
Mm-hmm.
to them because you love them and you trust them.
Right.
And because you trust your parents and who are saying that these people are okay, so you just go along with it, but and it happens more than we know. And the interesting thing is there's, I know for a fact that there's other cousins that it happened to because because I just know, like one thing I've told people for a long time, and I've told a lot of my clients, is that there's definitely an energy, a trauma energy, right? And you can feel it when you've had it. You can feel it on other people. So I can walk into a room and I can tell you how many women in there have been sexually abused because I could just feel their energy. And that's how I've been for years. Like I just always
Wow.
know. And I always, because like energies attract like energies,
Right.
the majority of my friends nowadays have had these kind of experiences because I attract them. We
Mm-hmm.
attract the same thing. So it's very interesting because I believe that it creates an energy, but I also believe that that energy could be cleared and that we need to clear it because the more trauma that there is on earth or in our neighborhoods or anywhere, then it just keeps going and going and going. And we need to clear that out. We need to have good light energy, not, this trauma, dark energy.
Right. Well, with thinking about the fact that you were so good at covering it up, right? So, what would let people know that something was going on? And before you answer that, I'll tell you that I told you about the other lady that had the trafficking, the familiar trafficking. She actually goes and speaks to like the police department and UN and stuff because at one point she was at her father's house, which was a different home than her mother's, and she was staying there for a few days. And when her mom came to get her, she didn't want to go. And her dad said she's going to stay here, and she went and got the cops. Well, the cops came and she's screaming and crying, she doesn't want to go. But they didn't ask her any questions. They just said, "This is your mother, you're going."
Hmm.
And so she's trying to teach people how, when certain things that young children say or do, is a reason to sit down and have a conversation away from
Yeah.
these other parents. Or so is there
Yeah.
something that you could say that maybe if somebody had asked you certain questions, not your family, because let's face it, they're probably not going to, but if
Yeah.
somebody else had asked you questions, would they have seen something that made them think to ask questions?
Um, I would think so. I mean, I don't want to say that I'm that good of a liar. I feel like if I was like interrogate, because the one thing I was always scared of, and probably still to this day, is authority, obviously. So like I followed the authority of my grandpa. I followed the authority of the bishop of our church. I followed the authority, you know what I mean? So if a police officer probably would have asked me, I probably would have said something. I don't know. But because I would have been so scared. But at the same time, I can't ever think of a time where anyone would
Even
have
ask?
asked me.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so the doctor, when I got started my period, they never asked me, which I always still to this day think is weird. My therapist that my parents sent me to when I was young, they because I would just have screaming fits, and which is a total sign, right? And I was like 6, 7 years old, and I was like having just screaming fits. The therapist just said to put me in a cold shower. So he missed the boat on that one. I don't know, like he didn't think that there was any signs of trauma. He just wrote it off as like I was crazy. I don't know, I was just a bad kid and put me in the shower. So I don't know. I can't think of like any person that would have been able to, maybe a teacher, maybe if there was a teacher that would have seen something. But like I said, I was really good at masking it, I think. And my mom was the PTA president, you
Mm.
know what I mean, the whole 9 yards. We looked like very normal. So I just think that it
So
was probably
even if they
because,
saw something, they may have just put it onto something else without
for sure.
questioning because they
Yeah.
look perfectly normal. There's nothing like that going on.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way like you're gonna, you're gonna think that my mom, who's like there every day at school or anything like that, that her family was gonna be doing something like that, or that I was going through something like that. Even though like I had definite signs. I think I had definite signs, like when I look back, like if you're if you're so worried, like I always hung out with all the adults, I had a lot of problems with like kids, because not a lot, but I would have problems with kids.
What do you mean?
And
What, in
well,
what
just
way?
like making friends, because to this day, like I don't have that many friends from being like, I mean, we're like social, but not real friends, because I could never tell them the truth. Right.
Mm.
So like I had to always be like whatever. It
Always
was
on
very,
guard. And if you're always on guard, it's
yes.
hard to let anybody in, right?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
very tiring. So I didn't really ever have any like really, really good friends, because I didn't want to ever say anything. Like I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to anything like that. But there was so many incidences. I'm sure that like there was a time where me and some kids were like messing around and the parents caught us. So at that point, there probably should have been like a conversation with everyone. You know what I mean? We were young, we were like 6. So there probably should have been a conversation. And there wasn't, of course. And so there was a lot of times probably, but nothing happened. I don't know. It's such a weird thing, because even when I talk to people from my church that were there at that time, they're like, how did our parents, why were our parents, where were our parents is more like where were they? Because mm, they were just out doing whatever they were doing, and all of us kids were totally not doing what we were supposed to be doing, and we were getting into trouble and all of these things, and the parents were just like totally clueless. I don't know. I don't think they were clueless. I just didn't think they didn't care. I don't know.
Yeah.
They thought it was
Well,
okay.
I was kind of wondering if there was something like you could help us with. So if we're like seeing some child and everything seems perfect, then I was just curious if there was something that would like let a light bulb moment go off to where you could say, maybe I need to at least pay attention.
Well, I think that anytime they become like distant is probably a big one. Anytime that there's any kind of overreaction that's pretty extreme should be something to look into, especially when they're little. But probably, to be honest, a lot of times there's a physical symptom to that kind of stress. Like
Okay.
I always had stomach aches and I always was like gaining weight and all of these things. So, and I come from a family that's like, I'm the biggest one in the family, like everyone's kind of teeny. So, um, that could have been a sign, like that can be a sign. I think that there's always a physical sign to that kind
Hmm.
of abuse, because there's no way as a kid you can hold it all in. Like
Right.
I could act normal, but then like all the pain. I mean, I could tell you, I didn't go to school in high school. Like I rarely went to school because I was at home saying I was sick pretty much every day, and my mom was just okay with it. But if she really looked into it again, that's like a sign. Like I was depressed as can be. I didn't want to leave the house, almost typical teenagers, but more extreme, because, you know, um, the hugging thing, I've never been able to hug people. So I would say that that's probably a really big one, you know, and like, I'm a really big on like not making my kids hug anyone if they don't want to because of that. Like, oh, you don't want to hug them? You don't have to. I don't care if they're like related or whatever.
Yeah, I
Um,
have a friend that she was abused when she was younger, and she's not a hugger either. And I didn't know that when I first met her. And I went to, and we had talked, a bunch and everything. And I went to hug her, and she said, "Oh, I don't usually do hugs." She said, "But I'll try it." And I gave her a hug. And so I get to hug her. Of course, we don't
mhm.
live close to one another anymore, but she said that, physical touch for her was not a comfortable thing for a very, very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have clients come in and they want to, hug, and I just be like hugging. I'm like,
Yeah.
so
You do the sideway hug.
uncomfortable. Well, and not only that, I'm only 5 feet tall. So if you're taller than me, my head goes in your chest or whatever. That is like the worst
Yeah, yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Um,
I'm 5'1.5", so I feel you.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah,
and then and my other thing are like men's feet. And I still don't 100% understand why men's feet freak me out, because I don't think I have all the memory of it. But
yeah,
if men's feet freak me out, so like I can't, like I couldn't do pedicures when we went to beauty school, like on any men, because it would freak me out. But so I think there's always a physical symptom to it.
hmm,
I've known some people that have like young girls who have lost their hair after that kind of trauma, because it's just so intense. And I'm sure that there's lots of other like symptoms, obviously, like anything down there that you have, like starting your period young, or any kind of like hormonal problems that you have, is kind of a given. But for me, I think it would be the touch, because like it was pretty obvious. I feel most of the time that it was so uncomfortable
yeah,
that I would think that people would notice that, but maybe they just didn't, because they just hugged me anyways, and they were just like, whatever, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
People just would hug you anyways. They
Her
don't care.
wishes don't matter.
Yeah. Well, I was too young to really
Yeah,
say hug me, but I was very uncomfortable. Like it was like this, like I'm like,
yeah,
I don't want to
yeah, yeah.
touch you, but okay. Um,
Well, do you want to maybe touch a little bit on the Ayurveda? Because I know you do that along with your fertility stuff, correct?
yeah, yeah, I do. I'm not as much as I used to,
Okay.
uh, because I'm just kind of incorporating everything, but like the herbs and following the routines. I think that the routines have probably, I mean, saved me, because with DID, like the big thing is just having a really strong routine. So I love the whole aspect of Ayurveda, and like having like your rituals of like your summer and your winter and your fall. And I love that kind of stuff. So I do that. But I can't say that it's as much of as my protocol as it was when I first went to school for it. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like shifted a little bit. But I do love it. I think that it's very interesting, and parts of I guess sometimes I have a hard time now trying to figure out what my personality is, like which dosha this personality is, or this personality is, and like where that fits in the mental side of things. They
Yeah.
don't really go into that as much, like the mental stuff is you know because I don't know, I haven't read up on that as much, but they it's more physical than mental. So for me
Yeah.
right now, I'm concentrating so much on the mental aspect of healing, that the physical is very, very limited. Like I just do my, lemon water in the morning, and certain herbs and stuff like that through, but not as strong. Like I just finished um, a parasite cleanse on the full moon, for the 10 days before, stuff like that. But um, not as it's not as much of my protocol now right now.
So what do you typically do for, I'm just trying to make sure I remember, that you're primarily, I know you work with women that have, um, infertility. So is that the basic thing of what you do, or is there more to it?
Yeah. Well, that's the where I started, and
Okay.
now I'm kind of moving into more intimacy in general, because I find that most women that have fertility problems also have intimacy problems. So I'm kind of moving more into, it doesn't just have to be having a baby. You can use that energy to just heal yourself, and not use it to have children. Because right now, like for my age, and anyone like into their 60s, that sexual energy is incredibly potent. And so we can either use it to create a baby, or we can use it to create things for change in our life. And so a lot of women, it's like they think, oh well, I'm going through the change, and it's just over. I'm just not supposed to want to have sex anymore, and I'm not supposed to want to do any of these things anymore. And I'm saying, no, you want to keep that energy. You don't want to lose that energy. You want to keep that energy as long as you possibly can. Even if you don't want to have children, it doesn't matter if you want to have children. If you want to be able to be creative and be in your feminine energy as long as possible, because it'll actually make you live longer,
Right.
because we need that energy. And most women, because of the way society is now, we're like, no, I want a hysterectomy. I want to never have my period again. And I don't care. But we don't realize that it makes everything faster. It speeds up our life expectancy. It takes away our sex game. It does so many things to us that we need as women. And I guess that became more of my drive when I really realized and stepped into the fact that I'm a very sexual human being because of what I went through, and that's okay instead of
Mm-hmm.
being a bad thing. I'm just with my husband. I'm okay. I'm safe. And we explore the whole fact that that energy is very important for our lives. And so since we started going into that. My protocol for my clients has kind of changed because I see myself changing too. Like, I'm not necessarily wanting to have any more kids. I could have more kids, but I not necessarily wanting to. But I also don't want to stop where I'm at and stop my cycle or anything like that, because I want to keep my sex drive. I want to keep that sexual energy going. I don't want to lose it, like
Yeah, I agree.
so that's kind of become more of my thing, mostly because I think because my age. The fertility thing was a big thing when I was in my, 30s, and I was doing the IVF and all that stuff. And now it's kind of like, well, if you don't want to have a baby, let's still do this work, because if you still clean out your womb, you are going to have different orgasms. You're going to have different, feelings come up that you just don't normally feel. And why not do it? It doesn't have to be to have a child. It has to be for yourself, like to fully like love and embrace and feel your worth for yourself.
Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing.
I it's funny because I spent so much time being, in the trauma, like the sexual trauma, and then I fought it for so long. And then not that long ago, I just realized, no, this is my thing. This is my thing, because I understand it from both sides. I understand it from the very darkest side, and to the light, and how beautiful it can be. You know, doing the whole like kundalini rising and having your energy move through all your chakras and move it up is a beautiful experience that every woman should strive to want to have, because it changes everything inside of you. And it actually, that was the first time I ever had that experience. It was the first time that I really, really felt my whole body re-regulate itself, like
Hmm.
extremely. Like, it was just, I would get a little bit here and there when I was like, oh, you're masturbating and you get, whatever. But once I started to learn about that energy, I it rewired my whole nervous system. It's amazing. So I'm very strong. And I used to be like so afraid to say it. And now I'm like, I'm not afraid to say it. I am a very strong believer in sex energy. Like, it is very important, and it's more important for women than it is for men, because men, it's external to them.
Right.
Their things, and ours is all internal. We hold it all in, so we hold everything inside of us, and we need to let it all out. And so I think it's beautiful. And so it's kind of become more of my passion lately than the fertility. But I mean, I still have fertility clients. I have a client that's, doing IVF right now, and lots of fun different things. So it's very, I don't know, it feels good to help women that, you know, have something that they need to heal in that area, because I understand that. Like,
Yeah.
I know what it feels like.
Well, I imagine it's very gratifying once they've gone through your protocol and everything, and you see that smile on their face because they were actually able to have an orgasm that they wanted to, and that it felt very different, I'm imagining, from what any that they had had before, if they'd even had any before.
Most women only have like external orgasms. They never have internal. So until you've experienced an internal one, like it's so different and like mind blowing that, yeah, like it was like, what, how is this possible? And most women, I talk to women, you know, as a hairdresser, you talk to women all day, right? So I would talk to women all the time and they'd be like, oh, no, like I just, it's not my thing. I don't, and I never understood that because I've always loved it. Like I've always needed it, you know, but, and always had a lot of shame. So I would never say that, but now I don't care because I need it and that's okay. Like, that's just what it is, you know, but I also know that that it can be an amazing, beautiful thing if you are obviously with the right person and you have to feel in order to achieve a cervical orgasm, you have to feel 100% safe because a woman cannot open in that place if she does not feel safe. So there is a lot of work to be done just within your relationship in order to achieve that, which is great too. So it's kind of like, oh, well, let's work through this, but then it's also kind of therapy, you know, like me and my husband split up for a time. And when we got back together, our whole thing was, and this is probably going to sound totally crazy, was that we would have our conversations with each other while we were having sex. Like for the first few minutes, it was like, you have anything you want to tell me? And well, we're like, and that's how we did it. And it would keep us so that we were calm and that we could rationally think and stuff. It was really funny. And it was also went with a, like, you had to do it every single day for 21 days. And it was, and we did, and it, I mean, it has helped, that helped us so much because it's like, there's probably nothing better than being able to talk about something that you want to talk about while you're also enjoying yourself. So it's kind of like, okay, well, how mad could you possibly get it that, you know,
Yeah,
or
it
you
would take a
annoy
little
me
bit of the
because you
anger
didn't do
away, I
this.
imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the way that started was I had watched a video about two people that were like therapists, and they were talking about how when they would fight, in order to fight, they would get down on the ground and they would stare each other in the face like this, you know, and talk like that because it made them feel like they were little kids and they could be in a softer place, and then you don't have so much whatever. And then in tantra, that is part of like a protocol of just, you know, connecting energetically, you know, and opening everything up, is that you can't have any secrets, you can't have any like feelings that are not supposed to be there, so you have to express them first, and you might as well express them while you're like, you know, in a comfortable position. So that's that's the way we do it, and it really is life changing. I can't express that enough, and it sounds, a lot of times when I say it, I think, oh my gosh, I sound like a total pervert because of how I was raised too.
Well,
You know,
see, now I'm not married anymore. I've been divorced for many, many years, but next relationship, I'm definitely going to be bringing this one.
right. Oh, if you start off like that, you will have no issues, I don't think, because like, how can you know,
Yeah.
you annoyed me today, okay. Like, I'm okay.
All right, let's go to the bedroom.
Like, right, exactly.
Talk about
Let's
it.
talk it out. There's no better way than talking it out that way, I don't think. And that has been like such a huge shift for our relationship because of that. And now I feel like I just want all couples to know that that's possible, and that it's okay to sit there and be, you know, emotionally charged and physically charged at the same time and work it out. And it's you know, it's a healthy way to do it, you know, because then you don't have this like anger or whatever. For me, it's the only way, or more of a way, that my personalities don't come in. You know what I mean? Because if I'm physical with my husband because we have a very safe relationship and I feel very safe with him, if I'm being physical with him, I'm 100% in my body. I'm 100% me and no one else. As long as I don't close my eyes. If I close my eyes, they all try to come in, so if I keep very like whatever, so for me it's very good because we share eye contact the whole entire time. I'm very in my body. It feels very safe. It's the best way to communicate, actually, for me.
That's wonderful. Well, let me ask you, you said they all try to come in. How many are there? Do you know?
7.
7?
Mhm.
All right. And I think we talked about this before, but I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching this may not, are listening to this may not have seen that episode. But you had, if I remember right, you had one that was a young girl the same age as your son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But then I don't remember anything about the other ones.
Well, so I have the first one is actually a see, I believe that they're an individual. I think I said this in the last one, that they're an individual soul that has stepped in, so they're
Mm-hmm.
considered a walk-in. Um, for me, that's just the best way that I feel the most comfortable with the whole situation. Whether
Okay.
or not that's really real, I don't know, but that's the way I see it, and that's the way I always felt it. So the first one that walked that came in was my great grandma, and she protected me. So the new thing that I have learned through the work that I'm doing right now is that because energy is attracted to the same kind of energy, and this was really hard for me to come to the realization. I just came to the realization not that long ago, that because it's a trauma event, right? And you're in trauma, and because you're getting a walk-in that's coming in, a soul that's coming in and taking over, the soul that you're attracting is whatever energy that you're at that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a dark energy most of the
Okay.
time. And unless you ask to be safe, from what I've gotten from my guides and my help and Jesus and God and everyone that I've talked to about this, that if you ask to be saved during trauma like that, then an angel will step in, and something good will step in and help you, right? And but if you ask to die, then something demonic or heavy or bad can step in. So in my experience, I only have 2 that are actually good, and the rest are not in my best interest whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? So I think the last time I told you I sent one, I
Yeah.
made one leave.
Mm-hmm.
And that was definitely like a negative, bad, you know, soul. I don't want to say totally that they're bad, but they're not for my best interest. They're
Right.
they're there
Which they
to,
were in the beginning. They
well, they
took,
protect you. Yeah, they
yeah.
protect you, but at the same time, they have probably their own agenda of confusion and manipulation and taking over you at the same time, because they
Okay.
come in and they're attracted to that bad situation, and they help hide that bad situation, but then they also help make you feel that energy all the time when they're present. So like when she was present, my energy was definitely like psychotic and crazy and angry and all of those things that she is. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
And
I
that's the
only,
one you got rid of, right?
yes, that's
Okay.
the one I have told to leave. And the other 2, I have 2 that are good, and so then the other 5, but then she's, not her, but so the other 4, they're all negative entities. So it was really hard for me to admit. That's why I'm saying, like, this is just a new thing that I've discovered lately. I used to always say, oh well, they came in and they protect me, right? They protect me, so they can't be bad. But the truth is, if I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe in energy, and I believe that at that moment I was in such a place of, deep anger, fear, everything, that the entity that stepped in to protect me, it would be the same as that energy that I was, right? It can't step into me if I'm light and good and happy. A dark one wouldn't be able to, but also a light one wouldn't be able to step into me if I'm dark and heavy and want to die. They're not gonna come, And so that was really hard for me to see until just recently. Just recently, I realized that really none of them are good for me. Even though I think, oh, they protect me and they've done all this stuff, none of them really have my best interest at heart. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're there, they do what they do, they have more control sometimes than I have control, obviously. And it's always been lying, manipulative, narcissistic. I mean, I definitely at times have been that. All the things that are bad have, I don't want to say that I'm perfect, so that would sound weird, but all the pieces that are like, the really negative things are coming from those beings. So I can't really say that they protect you, but then make you feel like you're protected, but then also give you traits that are incredibly bad, like not good, I guess I would
Hmm.
say. So that was just something I just really figured out lately with a lot of meditation, prayer, and realized that even though they've made me not be able to see the things that I see and do all of these things all the time, um, I I really don't want them anymore. Like if I could tell them all to go, I would tell them all to go because none of them serve my highest good. None of them let me be who I really am, all the time, because they'll just step in, whenever they feel the need, or anytime that I'm triggered, they step in. And I used to think, oh, well, that's good. They step in, they help me with the trigger, but not if my reaction by them is like something crazy, that doesn't really
Right.
work. And so when I told her to leave, I really realized that. That's when I saw it. I said, oh, okay. So all these things that I have that are coming from these other four, like the narcissism and all of these other things that are like the sex addict and all of those issues, those are coming from the other four that are, and they're not in my best interest. They're there almost like, oh, we have control and we're manipulating, and whatever their agenda is different than my agenda. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way I've
So
seen it
the
lately.
two that you have that are more of a positive nature, what are
Mhm.
they?
Both all my walk-ins are female, thank
Hmm.
goodness. Because I don't know what I would do. I mean, I have one that's a lesbian, so I guess that could, you know, but so she lives more in her masculine, like a lot, but the rest, the other two, they came early at the gate. So when I hit a certain age, I just wanted to die. Like I didn't want to go through it anymore. I just wanted to die. And so the ones that came later in my life are all really pretty negative and bad. The ones younger, like when I was 6 and 7, like those two, they're just, one is my great grandma, one is a young girl. They're very shy. She's very shy. She doesn't really come around at all, really. Um, and the other ones are the ones that are like the really in charge, and they're much more dominant. And my other two, like they sit back the majority of the time. They're more emotional. They're probably closer to me, I guess. I don't know. Like maybe that's what it really is they're just closer to who I really am.
Hmm.
Um, but but I didn't ask to die at those times, which to me is significant in the whole game, because the times that I asked to die, those ones are the ones that are like, they still want me to die. Do you know what I mean? They're here to protect me, but not protect me. They still want me to like do their bidding and do their things, I guess, kind of. Um, make me do things that I wouldn't my personality wouldn't normally do. Um, so, but
So if you
that's
were able to get rid of that one, can you not just one by one get
so
rid of them?
I strongly believe that I could get rid of all of them, because of all the work that I've done in the meditations and all of those things that I've done. I have been told that I could get them to go away. I have had religious people tell me that they could make them go away, also that I could get like a deliverance type of thing or whatever,
Hmm.
and get the demons out. because at this point I kind of would consider them some kind of like entity that's a demon type of thing, I guess. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with the fact that I can say I live with demons inside of me. I've also had demons inside of me, men that were demons. Like the whole thing is the same. So it doesn't hurt me to say that anymore. Before, like not that long ago, I would have never been able to say, oh, well, I'm, possessed by demons, or I have these personalities that are really bad things, because that would make me like feel like I'm a bad person. Now I've separated myself so much from them. It's like, well, they are what they are and I am what I am. And I think that eventually I could get them to go. But at the same time, I'm not really worried about it, because the more I'm in my body, the less control they have. And I don't seem to get triggered as much. And I don't seem to have them be able to come in as much. If I just stay really present and in my body, then they don't have as much power anyways. And I think that that's a big thing. If we were teaching people that had disassociation to stay in their body instead of like having their personalities come out and do it for TikTok and think it's fun and all that kind of stuff,
Do people
then
do that
oh yeah,
for
there's
real?
channels of
Oh,
kids that just are showing their just, and it's like, well, you really want to just stay in your body. If you just stayed in your body, they can't come. So do that instead. And that's where the real power is like not. So I
I
don't
have
know.
no idea.
I'm yeah, and it's become a thing, I guess. And I was really shocked because I had a therapist tell me that that was a thing, and I thought so. I went online and I was looking, and I'm like, well, I don't look like that when I change. And then I saw a lot of other people that were the same way. They don't look like they change. They don't change and look like anything. They just, they're just whatever. They might talk a little bit different. Um, I've had my eyes, people have said things happen to my eyes sometimes. Um, Sometimes I definitely have a different um, kind of an accent for one of them. So, but not it's not huge, but I do. I definitely have a sailor's mouth for one of them. Like if I'm cussing off the wall, that she is there, because that's not my like normal. So it's weird. And then food cravings. Sometimes I'll have certain food cravings with certain ones, which is really weird, because I'll be like really good, like on my diet or whatever, and like just really good, and then all of a sudden everything is like a piece of toast with butter on it, and I have to have it like crazy. So it's so weird, because it's like, well, this, I don't even want this, but I want it. So
Yeah.
it's really
Well,
so
I've even heard of some people that have the multiple personalities, and one of them has to wear glasses, one of them doesn't. And,
mhm.
and to me, and I know this is totally off subject, but that to me means that your eyes are not the issue. It's your brain about your eyes when you have to wear glasses and stuff. Because if one personality, the same damn eyes, doesn't need to wear glasses, I don't know. I'm getting
Yeah,
off topic, but that's
no,
just one of the things
I
I
think
think of.
I think that that's true too, because there are times when I have a certain personality that's the older grandma, and I feel like I can't see as good. I don't put glasses on because it's just like an ego thing. I think I'm like, I don't need them. I don't need them. I don't want them yet. But I think that that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just mind, like they have control of everything. It's really weird. They have control. It's like you're sitting back there, and sometimes I'll feel like I'm screaming, trying to like say, no, I don't want to do this, or no, I want to like um I don't want to make that decision. Lately my thing is when they're taking over is to try to like say a prayer. Like my inner child will say a prayer so that I can try to like come back to myself, like, and get that discernment from who's in charge right now. Like
Yeah.
I'm in charge, like it's hard to like know who's in charge. And I used to think, oh well, they're saving me. It's okay. Like it's okay. They're doing it. But I don't think that way anymore. I think that I have to save myself, and that they need to go away. Like I need to be able to do it myself. I used to think, oh, it's okay that they came in to protect me, and they're still going to protect me, and they're still going to save me now. And now I think, no, I have to do it myself. Like I need them to go. And I think that they go, me personally, my thought is that the more that I'm present, they'll just have to go, because they can't live with me, right? They can't live attached to me if my
if they're
energy.
always in the background.
Yes, if they're, why would they want to?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
they're
was
not
going
a
to ask that. So, because I'd ask you if you were, why didn't you just make them all go if you could get that one to go? But what you were saying is that, you through meditation and different things that you're doing to heal yourself, that they come out less and less. So, from what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly, is that as you're healing and everything, maybe they'll just start dropping off one by one by one.
I think so. I think so. And a lot of it does, like when I told the one to leave, a lot of it, that week that I was doing a lot of work on that area of my life. And I went through refeeling the whole in order to heal my trauma. I've had to refeel all of the experiences that I had and integrate them into my body, because they stopped me from feeling it. I wasn't allowed to feel it or see it or experience it really in real time. Like, it's kind of in the back of your mind, not like up front. So in order to heal from it, I have to re-feel it and go through the whole entire experience again. And I went through the whole entire experience of when she stepped in. I felt it all. I went through all of it again. And that was when I was really like, okay, well, I don't need you to protect me from this situation anymore, because I'm fine. Like, I'm healed. So you have to go, because I don't need you and you're not serving me. And that, so I think that they will go away. Honestly, I think that, and I also, I want to say this, I also think that, like, it just might be my mind and the fact that I think that I can do it, versus like maybe other people are just like, well, I'm just stuck with them and I'm just going to live with them forever. My mind is saying, no, I don't have to live with this forever. I can heal myself. Like, that trauma doesn't get to have control over me forever. Like, I have to heal from it. There has to be a way, there has to be a way to not have this forever, because some people hurt me when I was a child. Like, they don't get to be inside of me and be whatever forever. Like, that's not fair, right? Like, I
Right.
get to, if I do the work, I get to move on from this part of my life and not have these issues because of it. Like,
Right.
that should be just like healing your body physically. Like, if you do the work, like, your body's going to heal, right? So it's the same thing. Like, if I'm doing the work, then they have to let me go, I guess. I don't know. Like, that's just the way I look at it. Like, I think, okay. And maybe I just think I have more control than I really do. That works
Well,
for
we're
me too.
just
Maybe
going to
that's
go
for
with
my
the
personality.
assumption that you do have control.
Right? Yeah.
So, because who knows, right? So
Yeah.
you just
Right. I
have to
know.
put that energy out there. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
let's go with, let me ask you, so who will Brianne be when she no longer has these personalities that are stepping in and taking over at different times? Who will you be?
Oh my gosh, I honestly, half the time I don't know. I will definitely be someone that's very passionate about intimacy, energy work, um, fertility work, because those things have healed me in such a strong way that though that definitely will never go away. Trauma meditation, um, and a mom, which a lot of my life I fought against, and then became a mom and still kind of fought against. So like that, um, and a wife. I don't even know. I don't mind telling my story, so I probably, you know, talk about it and,
Mm-hmm.
maybe be a speaker. But it's hard because I don't know. It's hard to say, like, because it takes me. There are days when I'm disassociated, and it's really hard to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, I have to spend so much time on myself. It becomes almost a vain thing where I have to stare at myself in the mirror and like actually see myself versus see all the other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes it takes longer than others to be, I don't know, normal. I can't say that
Well,
I'm
who's
normal.
normal?
Right, exactly.
Hey,
To be
I don't have multiple
pretend like I'm
personalities.
normal.
I don't have multiple personalities that I know of, but I still have to do shadow work all the time
Right.
because
Yeah.
I have, and we all say that thing. Well, part of me wants to do this and part of me wants to do that,
Mhm.
and it's not the same thing, but it's similar in that
But
we've got
you know what?
something else in our mind saying, nope, this is better, that's better. This, and you
Yeah.
just have to
Yeah.
discern.
I think it's very similar, to be honest.
Okay.
And but I also believe that more people have walk-ins than you could ever imagine, because we just think that it's like you said, a part of me wants to do this and a part, but actually if you've had a trauma, the chances of you having a walk-in is very great, because they use that negative energy. Oh no.
What? I can hear you. You're still
Oh, you
there.
can hear me? You can't see
Yeah,
me though, right?
I can see you.
Oh, you can? How weird. It went black. They do
Well,
not like what I'm saying right now.
that's right. We can see you. You can't see us.
Okay. Okay. They do not, they like that energy. They feed off of that energy, that trauma energy. So
Oh, and there she went. Or maybe I did. Nope, we're still recording. So obviously somebody didn't like what was going on. So let me see if I can find out where she's at and get her back. Isn't that interesting? So let's see. I just sent her a text message. We'll see. We're kind of going over anyway, so it might be a good place to stop. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop right here. And then maybe we can get her on another time to finish up this fascinating conversation, because I really want to hear a lot more about how shadow work as I know it can be so similar to what she's dealing with. But so thank you all for being here and being part of this podcast. And remember, I share this on my YouTube. So whether you're YouTube or on any of the podcast platforms, just make sure you share, you like, subscribe, leave a message, leave a comment, leave anything that you can do to help grow this channel, because my goal is to have some amazing people on here and share their stories out into the world. So with that said, oh, wait a minute, there she is. Let's see. Let's see what we can get her back on.
I don't know what happened to my computer. So
That's
I'm now.
okay. I thought, well, we'll go ahead and end here. So I was just going ahead and telling everybody, but there you are. Because I said I
I'm
was
now on
really
my phone.
curious. Do what?
I'm now on my phone because I don't know what happened to my computer. It just decided to not
Hmm.
work. I
Yeah,
know.
that's that energy coming out.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. Well, if you do you have anything else that you want to say about because you were right in the middle of saying something about the
Oh,
shadow work
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, I do believe that a lot of people that have trauma, that they have walk-ins that they don't even know that they have. And so I think that a lot of times we do all the shadow work and, oh, we've done all our work on all our ancestors, and we've done our shadow work, and we've done our past lives even, but we don't look to see if there is some kind of something from the trauma that has attached to us.
So how would they know that?
I think that meditation is usually the best way to come through it. Like when you're in meditation with yourself, really, really with yourself, and then you ask certain questions, before or
Like what?
after. Well, you talk about your trauma, like you ask questions about your trauma, like
Okay.
what happened. You can just ask. I'm a big believer that I don't think that they can hide that from you. That they have to almost disclose it, kind of like that you have to know. So if you ask if anything has come into me during that trauma, then I think that you'll find out. I think that's the best way to do it, is just to ask.
Okay.
And you'll know, because if you ask yourself, your body will probably tell you. because they usually are held in a certain area. Like I think I told you before, like I have the one that's in my shoulder, right? Like that every time I ask a question of it, my shoulder shrugs. I have no control over it whatsoever. It's just the weirdest, thing that's just, it lives in my shoulder, and so I think that if you ask, you'll know, and you'll
Okay.
probably be able to find out where they're at. But to me, that's something that I think that's kind of missed. I don't know, is that if you've had something traumatic, you might not have 7, or you might not have. There's some people that have, I mean, a lot, 20, but you might just have one that has attached to you. The other thing that people don't talk about with trauma, especially sexual trauma, is that you also create a cord with a person that's that sexually abused you. So that needs to be cleared also. And that's a big part of like any kind of like fertility or intimacy, or most, I don't know, any kind of energy work for like females, is clearing all that.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, I do that cord cutting a lot when I do like some past life regressions with my hypnosis.
Mhm.
And then we will cut different cords that need to be cut. But because I always make sure that they see all the cords that are there, and they make the cords that are a negative or need to be gone, they make them a different color. So they only cut the ones that they don't need to keep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's beautiful work too. I think that that's so beautiful, because it's like you don't think about it, especially even just like if you have sex, if there's someone that's had sex with a lot of people, I'm always like, oh, we got to take care of that first, like you're trying to have a baby, but you've had multiple partners. You don't want their energy inside of you. You don't want any of that stuff inside of you. You have a connection with them, and you have to get rid of it.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
that's one part of the church that I always think about now, is I think, well, they would talk about only having sex with like, just the person you're married to. And not that I think that that's totally right, but like sacred union is very important, I think, in the whole act of sex and the sexual energy. And so I think that, oh, okay, well, churches sometimes have part of it right, but then they have all the shame and the worth stuff that doesn't
Yeah.
help it, makes it
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've gone over a little bit, but this has
Yeah.
definitely been fascinating. I've loved every second of it. So, and I think I could talk to you forever. I don't know what it is, but it's
I
like
know.
you it's like we just keep on talking.
Right.
But I will go ahead and say thank you so much for being here and for popping back on when things happened. And I just love you. You've got such an amazing energy about you and presence. And I just feel like I've known you forever, even though we've never even met in person. And so I appreciate you greatly for being here. And there's one question that I've started asking my guest at the end, and I'm going to go ahead and ask this for you. And I wouldn't think it would be a trigger, so let's hope not. But what would you like for people to remember about you or say about you when you're no longer with us?
Probably that she, or that I never gave up, that
Hmm.
I worked through everything that I possibly could, and I tried everything to be like, healthy and happy, and even with like everything that happened, like I didn't give up, or that I just didn't give a what, and I said it all, and like, you know what I mean? Like, one of the two, she's just a bitch, and she fought it, and she told everyone's stories, and she's just, a blabbermouth. That, or she just never gave up. One of the two. Both are fine. Both are totally fine.
All right. Well, what'll happen is there'll be one camp that says one and one camp that says the other. So you'll get your wish.
I know. So good.
That is just beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I look forward to chatting again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.